Good afternoon, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
Hey,
You're on the advisory board for EQUI.
yeah, that's right. Very excited.
Can you give us a little bit of your background, where you started from?
Sure, yeah. Way back when, I started out as a chef. I worked with Gordon Ramsay. That was my first career. Then I launched at a very early age, my early 20s. I was in the restaurant game, so ended up having 3 venues in South London. That was my first entrepreneurial step. And then the next step from there, that was where I made my first money. Then I moved into tech and digital, and that's where I made my first big success. So I launched in 2006 my own internet business. It was called myvouchercodes.co.uk. It became the UK's biggest money-saving coupon website, and it scaled very, very quickly. It did £300,000 in year one revenues, million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million. I was 100% shareholder of this business. We ended up having 120 staff. In 10 different countries, and it was a very profitable business, making 3 to 5 million every year. So that's what really got me into technology. I become an active angel investor, an active early stage investor into technology businesses. I've had several exits, and several businesses gone on to produce even bigger than mine, so multi-million revenues. One of them was listed recently, called Paddle, was listed by Deloitte as the fastest growing UK software company. They're on a revenue run rate after 5 years of $80 million. So fantastic growth. That's the kind of thing I do now.
That all sounds very exciting. In the early days, what were your biggest challenges in getting started?
I think every entrepreneur or wannabe entrepreneur probably has the same challenges I had. So I always had a passion and a drive or an ambition to be an entrepreneur, but literally my bank account was very close to zero, and it was really hard to start. So as I mentioned in my previous previous answer, I started off in the restaurant game and I made my first money. But looking at the sector and the space now, I see a lot of entrepreneurs who have sector knowledge or just have an ambition or a great idea, and they can go out and find capital. My real challenge was, how do you get started with a business if you haven't got any capital? Because most business needs a decent amount of money to get started and make a decent size impact. And that was my real pain point. I wasn't even aware in my early 20s that there was capital out there and external capital. So that was my biggest thing. That probably took me longer to get started, but I eventually did and went on to achieve what I've achieved to date. So capital was a problem, and that's why for me EQUI is interesting, and that's what I do as a day job as well. I invest capital into other entrepreneurs to get them started, because there's fantastic people out there, and it's fantastic to join them on the journey and be rewarded for their success.
What type of companies are you involved in now?
We're involved in quite a range of companies. So currently I'm actively involved in 16 businesses, and then businesses at all different stages. Some of them are only 1 to 2 years old and at the pretty young stage, and some of them are several years old with multi-million revenues, global businesses. So, and majority of them companies I've been involved from a very early stage. So if I tell you the sectors and the areas we really specialize in and have expertise in, marketplaces, platform type businesses, software companies, all these sectors tend to be very high margin businesses. That's the reason I select them. A subset under them in categories and verticals, we can talk about fintech, which is finance and banking disruptors, martech and advertising tech, which is marketing and advertising businesses, property tech businesses, and there's a real range there. There can be fashion and, social, lots of interesting business models. We look specifically at business models that can scale aggressively and can scale globally. And that's where I see, by investing early, you can create very good returns by participating in their businesses. So they all have a similar criteria, but they have a broadish range while still having a good special area where we have experience and we've built businesses historically.
What excites you about the EQUI proposition?
I've been fascinated about cryptocurrencies, ICOs, etc. So I think it's a real interesting take. I think to tie what I do as a day job now with my own capital and investors' capital to help scale companies and tie that to a cryptocurrency is really interesting, because personally Our own results are fantastic. We invest in early stage companies. We see multiples, and I'm talking multiples in hundreds of percent over 3 to 5 years of growth. So tie that to cryptocurrency, what EQUI are doing. I think it becomes a very exciting proposition. I mean, I've seen lots of ICOs, and I do question what's the value of them. But for this one, I see genuinely real value connected to the value of that cryptocurrency. So it's a real win-win, and I suppose it's an alternative. It's a way to access real company, real valuation and growth and revenues to that crypto EQUI token. So very, very exciting, I would say. That's why I wanted to be involved.
What specific skills do you believe you're bringing to EQUI?
So without blowing my own trumpet, I've been pretty active in the last 20 odd years in building businesses. So I built my own company from scratch from 2006. That turned into a 10 million revenue business with 5 million profit. And that had a successful double digit exit in 2014. So that was my first real hands-on experience at building my own company. I scaled that into 10 countries and we had 120 staff. So I've got all that hands-on operational experience. And then since then, I've been very active in investing in early stage companies. So I actively involve and manage, as I say, 16 businesses right now, a real variety of businesses. And for me, that's been the most fascinating, the most educational, and the bit that's really built my own experience. So by being hands-on and working with these founders and these companies, it really creates a fantastic ecosystem. So within these portfolio companies, you see a lot of cross-pollination, you see a lot of idea sharing, you see a lot of great suppliers and great services, which I and my team of 9 that are around me really help to just facilitate, and there's real value add there. I'm always learning new things. So the key thing is we have very active involvement in this early stage digital technology businesses. That's going to be a lot of value, I believe, to bring to the table. And I'll also be bringing deal flow to the table. So deals we filter through, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, we see over 100 deals a month. And we filter them down to the 10 to 12 best businesses, and then we filter it down further into the ones we think are actually the best investments out of them very good businesses. So that's also what I'll be bringing to the table.
EQUI is very focused on technology, an area that you have a lot of experience in. Where do you see the next disruptors?
Yeah, so technology is very exciting. I've been in it for more than 10 years and I've seen it evolve really quickly, but the core principles are still the same for me. Where I sit and the areas I'd say the biggest expertise are, we focus on marketplaces, we focus on software companies, which are known as SaaS software companies, platform businesses, transactional technology businesses, so that all these businesses still continue to grow and thrive. Then you'll see new areas and kind of buzzwords for some people that maybe don't know the sector, called fintech, so financial tech, disruptors to banking, marketing and ad tech, so for advertising and marketing solutions. Property tech's a really interesting one. So all of these areas are specialities of what we do, and I've invested in these personally. And once you're invested in a number of these companies and you see in a number of these business plans, you really see the direction the market tends to take. So some of these companies are growing very, very fast, using technology to create great disruption, and they can build some fantastic value. So that's what makes me wake up early in the morning and come to work and come and actively get involved with these entrepreneurs and founders. So there's lots of exciting areas. I'm a broad diversity type person, so I won't pick one specific area that I've just told you. I would invest it in a selection and at a range, which is very good for a broad, diverse, and I'll say a risk-averse portfolio. You'll get a good spectrum of what the market can offer, and you can benefit from all of these areas.
What are the key characteristics you look for when investing in a company?
Key characteristics. So for me, and mine might be different to others, but really we'll really home in, and the biggest decision we make is the people. So it's the founders and the founding team. They are the ones that are actually going to make the difference. And I've seen it time and time again. Sometimes you'll see some very different, very similar businesses present to you, and you'll watch their journey, and sometimes you will see that it's really about the people and it's about the team that actually go on to deliver. Some of the other criteria that we have are, we only invest personally in businesses that have early stage revenue. So once they've got revenue, a real key kind of tick box for me is the founding team have started to get multiple clients, multiple customers, because one can sometimes be lucky when you're an investor, but once you've got multiple, it's something you can repeat, it's something you can scale, it's something you can grow, and that's what the stage we tend to invest in. So we'll get in early, we'll get very lucrative and good valuations and good equity pieces, and then the businesses will go on to scale with the right capital to really grow aggressively. So that's some of our key criteria. That data and that sales figures is so important because you can start actually analyzing and doing a lot of due diligence on the business model. And if you do pre-revenue businesses, you can get into some fantastic businesses, but the areas I focus on is this just post-revenue, post-traction, some real momentum starting to build, and these are the ones that can really fly up very, very quickly. So that they tend to be our top few. We have much more criteria behind the scenes, but they're the top few criteria that help us filter the majority of the deals.
Obviously, starting a new business comes with pitfalls. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs about continuing after they've had a setback?
Yeah, anyone that tells you launching or operating or growing a business doesn't come without pitfalls is a liar. I think the key thing is I see challenges, I see frustrations, and all the way, it's a bumpy road to success. So I think you've got to be very thick-skinned. You've got to have a good team supporting you. So any founder or entrepreneur that's out there and it doesn't go to plan straight away, that's certainly, you can't give up. That will lead to failure straight away. I think the key thing is prepare for it. Plan that it will always be challenging to build this business. You don't know what's around the corner, you don't know what's going to change, you don't know what your competitors may do. All of these things will give you headaches, give you restless, sleepless nights. I see it all, but at the same time, you can counteract that with some of the biggest successes. You can have the biggest client win the very next day, or you can open up into a new market, or have the next great opportunity or idea for your business. So I see being an entrepreneur as a real up and down, and you've got to be able to handle that. But persevere. I think having the key advisors and experienced people around you is vital, because you know what? They've been there, they've done that. So it's just normal. You're not the only one suffering from that biggest headache or your worst day in your business career, because tomorrow or next week can be very different.
One of the key characteristics of EQUI is opening up venture capital for everyday people. So for everyone who is buying an EQUI token, what can they get out of the proposition?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most intriguing things for me about EQUI. So I think it's seen as a pretty commonplace that private equity and venture capital is for different people. It's for the bankers, it's for the finance people, it's for the very high net worths. Well, actually, there's been a movement online where crowdfunding and opportunities like this really bring it more down to the masses. And I think that's where EQUI have really kind of taken an opportunity, seen the opportunity, and utilized the people that founded it and the people that are involved experiencing. That's what they've done most of their lives, and that's how they've created their own success and wealth. So by bringing it to the masses and participating alongside, it is a fascinating kind of way forward. And for various amounts of participation, you can get to play in some of these interesting business. You can get to participate, you can get to invest alongside other expertise, other successful entrepreneurs. So it is a very interesting model of businesses that you may never normally see, or even businesses that you might not understand. I regularly meet successful entrepreneurs in certain areas, or successful people in their own careers that don't know about internet, don't know about technology, don't know about digital, but they're fascinated. And would they go it alone? Maybe not. Would they go it with other people who've done it before? Maybe. And there lies the opportunity. And that's why I think EQUI can be very successful.
What's been your proudest business to date?
Proudest business to date? I think it's always going to go back to my, I nearly said first business, but actually it wasn't. So my first digital business was My Voucher Codes, and I launched that in 2006, and literally I launched it from my back bedroom where, when, I was very early stages in my career. I was mid 20s, and that business scaled very, very rapidly. And it didn't just happen, and it wasn't just an accident. It was a lot of long nights, many years. I don't think I left the house for the first year, and it was constantly on my computer all day and night working. And I hired people externally to help grow this business, and the team grew very, very quickly, and the business became very successful. And I think it was down to that early hard work and the early ambition of working really, really hard. I'm a big believer, if you work hard, that's good. Some people say, well, don't work harder, work smarter. And I say, well, imagine if you work harder and smarter, you're going to outdo your competition every time. So that's one of the key things. So I'm very, very proud of the success I achieved in my first business, but I'm also proud that it led me on to kind of pinch your skin moments that I never believed I would be doing what I do today, and I never believed I would be leading my field in investments and being able to invest my own capital into other entrepreneurs. So all of them led onto something else, but you've still got to be very thankful and very grateful and proud of that first business that I created.
Thank you, Mark. It's been very informative.
No, thank you very much. It was great to chat.